Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Welcome to today's Grain Market Blast. It is Tuesday, the 25th of March. And as usual, Angie will be giving you a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, I will get the legals out of the way and say that nothing discussed on this Spaces session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ Global Limited, trained as PIQ or PIQ Suite, or indeed that of the hosts, which, as you know by now, is myself, Mr. Ryan Paisley, and the amazing Angie Setzer. Happy Tuesday to you, Angie.
Woohoo! Tuesday. I totally spaced almost on hitting respond on your co-host invite. If you noticed the delay, I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh
I was
crap!"
thinking,
Like we've
I
only
was
been
sitting
doing
there
it for
going,
6 months the same way we've been. So if that's any indication of how I will operate for the rest of the day, we're hosts. So I guess let's
yeah,
go.
like that.
Happy
To be honest,
Tuesday.
because it was a
Yeah.
delay, I was thinking, oh God, did I send that to Angie or someone else? And I was
Right,
like half
exactly.
expecting like
Someone
one
else
other,
gets on.
some random person to
Can you even
turn up.
imagine how awesome that would be at the same time as terrible? So, all right, let's rock and roll. It is Tuesday. I am here. I am both love and light, and I don't know, spite and fight. I don't know. But looking at everything that we've got going on, pretty much deja vu all over again. We had the port fee hearing yesterday. Once the public comment period closed, there were over 500 entries, most of which were kind of resoundingly against the fees as proposed. And they ranged from, agricultural and energy businesses to different chambers of commerce from around the world, et cetera, et cetera. And there were a few things that I thought were kind of interesting that I've seen gleaned out of the hours of conversation yesterday. One of which was like, according to a Japanese ship owning company, both Japan and Korea, like their shipyards are booked to capacity for the next 3 years. So cool. We really don't have the ability to wait 3 years. You know what I mean? And it's not like we're going to be able to just
Yeah,
ramp up production out of the U.S. Tomorrow. One of the things that I did find interesting is there's been like these conversations amongst folks in the maritime side of things, or at least maybe some casual observers in the commodity space, where they're like, oh, this is a non-issue. Over the next 6 months, you'll see companies separate out their Chinese built vessels from the U.S. built vessels, et cetera, et cetera. And there was one, company that was like, "Hey, we have 3 ships, two of which are Chinese built. Like, what do we do with that?" And so I found it just somewhat interesting to see some of these conversations. And then the other thing that we had seen or heard, at least from the World Shipping Council, is that they're like, "Bro, as soon as you announce that this is in effect and is going to take place, because you have said that it's to make the U.S. better as a shipbuilder in the world, or to improve the U.S.'s position, you're going to face immediate litigation from trade partners and stuff.
yeah.
So like, good luck with that." So we'll see. The hearing continues tomorrow, I believe, than today. And so we'll wait and see, if there's any developments or anything like that. But I would have to say, if you were like, oh, finger to the wind, is this a good thing or not? Most everyone's like, hell no. So we've
But
got
just
that.
one
Yeah.
thing to add on this, the FT finally picked up on this story today,
Well, good
which was
for
nice of
them.
them.
I'm happy. Yeah.
But they've also messed it up because they said it was basically only it was only impacting ships, Chinese-made ships that were loading and being in ports
Oh,
rather
yeah.
than for fleet stuff.
And there's so
So
much confusion, but honestly, just type
yeah,
the U.S. trade, but like copy and paste the U.S. Trade Representative's proposal and dump it into Chat GPT, and it'll fill you in. Um,
or just listen to us because we've
that
been talking
helps
about it
too.
near on
Yeah.
every day.
Look at you and you're selling. You're great at this. So step two is kind of in the vein of I'm not even going to say in the same vein, because it's not at all. But we've got Russia and Ukraine peace talks, and so we had yesterday Russia and U.S. officials met for 12 hours. The talks
Wow.
were described as intense but productive, whatever that means. But what was fun, or maybe not fun, fun isn't the right word to use there, but we'll just use it for the hell of it. The post meeting press conference featuring the two sides was canceled, and there was no joint statement issued. So that's always a great sign. that things went really well. And
Yeah.
so the thing that I'm seeing right now that I think we really have to be careful of, because I have a feeling everyone's going to be like, oh, this was such a great thing when it was first introduced, and it'll be such a great thing to bring it back in, is a
Yeah.
return to the Black Sea Grain Initiative, because that is what Russia is calling for. And so at face value, it's super easy to be like, okay, Russia says they didn't get the things that they were promised the first round. They were said that they were going to have access to the European market, like EU is going to start importing the Russian grains. If I remember correctly, I'm going to have to go back in time, but there was like a lot of conversation that we would see an increase in Russia's access to the world market, though we really didn't need to, right? Maybe outside of some fertilizer sanctions and some other
Right.
things, they're not their lack of connection to the SWIFT payment system is a big thing. But you had also seen, several different insurers and different, ways to do the payment system. JP Morgan was one that was helping keep them able to transact grain payments and things like that. And so to me, I think the biggest reason that Russia wants to return to it is that it provided them complete control over the ships entering and leaving Ukrainian ports. And so at one point in
Right.
time, we were down to less than 5 ships a day being allowed in or out of Ukraine. And that was because Russia would either change paperwork, they'd just simply not show up. They'd send one dude who's never inspected a ship, and he'd have a stomach bug or something. You know what I mean? Like, they just weren't doing it. And so basically, when Russia pulled out in November of 23, Ukraine was like, we're going to create our own corridor. Like, we have some help through some allies, the US and some others, that had said, yeah, we'll kind of, we got your back. You just started to see a much freer flow of grain that was not
Yeah.
inhibited by Russia and their whim. And so to me, this is a really great way for them to be like, hey, yeah, peaceful, woo, but we've got our thumb right over top of them. Like, basically
Yeah.
all of the developments that we're seeing right now, in my opinion, when it comes to these are our demands, from the Russian side, is it keeps them in complete control of Ukraine, even though it says Ukraine on the map still. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Ukraine's going to keep 80% of their country or whatever, but Russia's going to have some solid control. So that'll be something that we'll want to pay attention to, that we'll want to watch. Obviously, just the conversation itself. And like I said, I have a feeling that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to knee-jerk reaction wise be like, oh, that's a good thing. Yeah, let's return to that. It guarantees, Black Sea ship safety, yada, yada, yada. And so we'll see. Also interesting to note, though, both sides, like, if we were hanging up that sign, though, like, energy infrastructure has been safe for one day, but we are still seeing drone attacks between the two maintain a pretty lofty pace. Like, Russia launched 139 drones overnight, hit a residential building in, I think, the Sumy Oblast, and killed several people. So it's not like it's calmed down. Otherwise, point three just always ends up being a potpourri of things, because there's so many things to be paying attention to anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. But less than 12 hours after media reports the Trump administration, right, we weren't going to see industry specific tariffs announced really kind of anytime soon, was at least the gist I grabbed. Maybe it was me being the eternal optimist, but Trump later yesterday was like, hold on, not so fast, guys. Like, these are still coming. They're still coming very soon. They're still going to be great. And, yada, yada, yada. So we kind of had a little bit of whiplash on that, though it does feel like the market itself is just like, okay, yeah, we just tariff me, daddy, like, whatever. We'll see what happens. So,
Oh.
happy Tuesday for that one. This will probably be our last show with that. But in any event, he did say, we've got pharmaceutical tariffs, a handful of other goods, things like that. We're still working towards April 2nd. He said he's going to give lots of countries lots of breaks. There's rumors that India is going to roll back a ton of tariffs on a bunch of their
Yeah.
imports. Brazil wants to have a meeting talking about sugar and ethanol. Like, you had South Korea yesterday with the Hyundai announcement. You know what I mean? Like, you've got a lot of things that are cooking and really kind of moving. And I'm still going to weigh on the side that it doesn't end up being as bad as what everyone thinks it will be, but I'm also completely prepared, to really ride out what will feel probably like a lot of bumps and
Well,
stops and
this is
starts.
it, right? It does feel like that, like I said earlier on Twitter, it's like good luck trying to keep up with
Yeah.
tariff headlines at the moment. And we know for a fact that, it will come down to the eve of what the Liberation Day Eve, if that's what we're calling
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
when we're still going to be getting headlines. And there's every chance that during the day on Liberation Day, there'll be more tariff headlines.
Oh
This is
yeah.
not going to, this isn't going to be sorted before Liberation Day. I'm
No, not
buying
even
into
close.
Liberation Day. I don't know if you've heard that. I'm also
I
playing in the
like it.
Internal Drinking Day. And every
I was gonna
time
say we
I
should turn
say
it
it, or
into like a nice
yeah,
drinking
anytime
day.
I say it
Just
or
for that.
someone else says it, drink, we'll all be shit faced by breakfast. It'd be lovely.
That's I'm proud of you. I'm
Um,
looking forward to it. Honestly, I'm looking forward to
I'm-
the afternoon conversation that we'll have that day. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
to
good luck
me,
with that.
I feel like you're gonna get April 2nd. People are gonna get the announcement. It's going to be a week at least before, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have a bunch
Yeah,
of, oh my gosh, maybe some knee-jerk reactions. But I guess it depends on your if you're a member of the Dirty 15 or not, which I'm going to also. I need a t-shirt
the
made.
Dirty 15.
Not a member of the Dirty 15. Like surprise. But so we'll see what happens. But there are a lot of things. We're just going to continue to see this uncertainty build. We have a
Yeah,
USDA report on Monday. We've got some weather things. In the short term, weather looks like it's improving in parts of the world. You've got a lot of places to start paying attention to across the
yeah,
northern hemisphere on the wheat side of things. We're super dry in the southern plains. Mexico is starting their corn growing season again, exceptionally dry. There's just a lot of moving pieces to pay attention to.
yeah.
Yeah, like it's going to be
Giddy
trade.
up.
Yeah, port fees. We'll see what happens there. Yesterday's export inspections were super solid. Again, yeah, running ahead of the pace needed for all of them, and so there's a lot of underlying good things in this market. But with the uncertainty here, we'll probably, like I said yesterday, go nowhere fast for a while. But yeah, we'll see what
And
what today brings.
I think that's the only thing. Yeah, uncertainty is the only certainty we have right now, and unfortunately, that is not conducive at all to investing
Yeah, I always say
or
uncertainty tends to
deploying
lean
capital.
bearish. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what the only time I've ever seen uncertainty be bullish was in grains with the Ukraine, the invasion. And that's not but it's one of the few times. I shouldn't say the only time. But the uncertainty over what that would mean for grain flow and all of that stuff, that was bullish, but that was at a time too when everything was bullish. And right now, when
yeah,
everyone's leaning bearish, it's just going to continue to weigh heavily upon the market until we feel comfortable. And that could be a minute.
and that's why everyone's got to keep tuning in daily to listen to you explain to everyone what's going on.
Yes, I
There you
like
go.
that
There's
idea.
two
That sounds
plugs
like
today.
great.
Two plugs today.
Look at that. It's almost like we're professionals here. So
Well, let's not get carried away.
it's true.
After your
True.
comments earlier, definitely not.
All right. Well, I guess I agree with that. So we'll be back tomorrow, though. I'll see what kind of bullet points we have. Probably going to be similar to the ones we see today, but there'll be lots of developments in the meantime.
Exactly that.
As always, check out PIQ for all of the good news.
There we
Look at
go.
me with mine,
Oh,
and
God, we're getting good.
yeah, you can follow me on Twitter too for I don't know whatever you'd
And
like.
everyone should be following you regardless. Everyone should be. And
Well,
all,
happy
all the
Tuesday. I appreciate it. Hopefully you have a good one. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
we'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.